Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us. Welcome to today's webinar on successfully troubleshooting Skype for Business. My name is John Hand, and I'm the Microsoft Global Alliance Director for IR. I've been with IR for about 2 years now, and prior to that, I worked for Microsoft for over 22 years. And joining me today is Sylvain. Sylvain is going to introduce himself. Sylvain?
Hi, I'm Sylvain. I'm a solution engineer, and basically I have 8 years of experience in the UCN contact center. I've been with IR over 2 years now.
Okay. Thank you, Sylvain. So for those of you who are familiar with our company, a little bit about our company. We've been around for almost 28 years now. We started in 1988. We're globally listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. We have over 1,000 enterprise customers worldwide. About 120 of those are from the global Fortune 500 customers. In the last 5 years, we've returned over 600% to our investors. And we have a lot of Microsoft DNA in our team, including myself. We also are a gold partner for Microsoft Communications. We're a national and global sponsor for the Skype for Business user groups. We're IT Pro Tools certified, which means that we've gone through some stringent testing from Microsoft to be certified for monitoring and troubleshooting Skype for Business. And because of that, we were awarded the Gartner Cool Vendor Award in 2016 for availability and performance, specifically around Skype for Business. From a solutions perspective, we're the global leader in unified communications and call center monitoring with over 13 million endpoints under management. We're also certified for the SDN API solution from Microsoft that allows us to monitor calls in real time. And we have more than 70 developers working on our Prognosis UC product. And you can see some of the logos there. I won't bother reading them out to you, but you can see that we've got quite a coverage of very large businesses globally. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about what is the Microsoft Skype Operations Framework, the importance of network pre-assessments, troubleshooting using IR UC Assessor Essentials, using the IR UC Assessor Advanced tool, and also troubleshooting using IR Prognosis, which is our newest release. We call P11. So before we get started, we always like to gauge what the audience is doing. And so our first question to the audience, our first poll, is what is your current UC environment? Okay, so I'm going to start the poll voting right now. And let's get started. So the choices are, we have a Cisco system now, we have an Avaya system now, we have a mix of Cisco, Avaya, and Link or Skype for Business. We're using Skype for Business Online or Other. And if you choose Other, you can type your comments in the feedback window. Now, we've had some concerns in the past where do you vote? So at the bottom of your viewing screen, there should be a tab that says Poll or Voting. Take a moment to find that and submit your answers to the first poll. We'll leave the poll open for about a minute. So go ahead now, the poll is open. So take a moment now to submit your votes. And this is anonymous, so go ahead and feel free to vote for your choice. So right now the leader seems to be a mix of all the environments, which is interesting. Okay, we got one that says they're using Skype for Business Online. Okay, it's starting to even out a little bit more now. We'll give you about 10 more seconds, and then we'll close down the poll and we'll move forward. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So stop voting here. We'll move forward. Thank you for those of you who voted. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the vote.
Yes, thank you very much. So, question is, what is the Skype operations framework for Microsoft? Well, Microsoft understood that Skype for Business is a whole different animal when it comes to deploying it in a network. Microsoft traditionally has had a long, successful career of deploying things like Exchange on the or SharePoint, other applications on the server. And if you have to open up an Exchange spreadsheet and it takes an extra minute or second or two, that really won't bother too many people. But if you do that with a voice call, and your voice, especially if you're doing video, and your voice and your video are off by just a few seconds, that's a big problem. And so what was happening is people were deploying this on their same old networks, and not taking the time to actually see if the network was healthy or stronger enough to support an application like Skype for Business. And so what they did is they put together a framework that will allow users, as IT professionals, to go in there and do a very systematic approach to laying down a network that will be supportive of Skype for Business. And so they came up with the Skype for Business operations framework. Part of that is a requirement to do a network assessment. And now they want to make sure that the network is healthy. So that's the importance of it. And so you have to ask yourself some questions, some interesting questions, whether or not you have enough LAN or WAN bandwidth on your network, or how will it perform under peak loads. So it might be performing well in the evening, but in the morning time when most people log on, how's the performance going to be? And what's your current expected performance, and what is going to be your bar for quality for online for Skype for Business, or even Voice and Office 365? So those are all the considerations you want to consider when you're putting your network down specifically for Skype for Business. Also, you want to make sure that if you're working through the Microsoft network, that they're also providing the right service level agreement for you. And there's a way to test that using these tools. So again, why network readiness assessment? Because you want to manage the risks. You want to make sure that your system is healthy enough so that if you're having a very important meeting, or your executives are talking to each other, or you're even doing a live large broadcast, that everything goes as smoothly as possible. So you want to manage the risks and minimize them as much as possible. The Skype for Business quality relies on the network quality. So in other words, if the network is bad, Skype for Business will look bad. And Skype for Business is getting a lot of negative press, but in almost 99.9% of the cases, it's because it was put down on a network that wasn't healthy enough to support it. And then you want to also identify potential network challenges before they become a problem. So you want to make sure that you can pinpoint them and cut them off or repair them before you start getting into those situations. So it looks like we've got one question from the audience, which, okay, I see that's got it. It's an answer to the other. Okay, let's move forward. So in the Skype for Operations framework, there's three main phases. One is the plan phase. The second phase is the deliverable phase to roll it out. So you plan to make sure everything is running properly. Then you deliver it by rolling it out and enabling it and adopting it. And then the last piece is the maintaining it on an ongoing basis. So once it's stood up and running in your organization, you have to find a way to keep it healthy. And we have tools that will provide you support on all of those phases. We're going to first start by talking about the plan phase, which is where we're going to talk about our UC Assessor tool. So before we get into there, I want to ask the audience two more polls. And we're going to ask these back to back because they go hand in hand. So the first question, the second question of the second poll here is, when are you planning to move your workload to the cloud? Okay? And so I'm going to light that up, and we're going to spend about another minute, maybe a minute and a half, on answering this question. So the answers are, we'll stay on premise for the foreseeable future, and in this case, the foreseeable future is further out than 3 years. We're considering moving to the cloud in 6 months to 1 year. We're considering moving to the cloud in 1 to 2 years. We have begun the process of moving completely to the cloud, or we're completely cloud-based now. So go ahead and take a moment to vote, and we'll see how that pans out. And again, it's completely anonymous, so feel free to vote. We use these statistics, again, to help us plan our rollouts for specific features. So the more votes we get, the more statistically accurate it is. So I appreciate your weighing in. Okay.
Yes, nobody has moving to the process of going to the cloud.
Yeah, they've either already done it, they've already gone through the pain and process, because there are people that have completely, there's one that's starting or begun the process.
Yeah, just one, yep.
Yep, so we're getting there. So let's give you 10 more seconds, and then we'll close this list, and we'll go to the second part of this, which is, if you're considering moving to the cloud, which cloud are you going to move to, okay? So we're going to stop this vote. We're going to go to the next poll, which is, which cloud are you considering? And again, if you have other, you can enter it into the feedback window. So we're going to start the voting now. The answers are Microsoft, Amazon, Google, other private cloud, or not considering moving to the cloud at this time. So please go ahead and fill that in. And I promise you we only have one more poll after this.
Microsoft
this open for
the lead, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, this is consistent with the other webinars that we've done, because it stands to reason, because this audience is primarily a Microsoft-focused audience, because we're talking about Skype for Business, so that seems to be the more popular one. And I was assured, I was actually at Ignite last week, and Ignite is the annual global summit, I guess, of the Microsoft experts to talk about their technologies and the roadmap for the future. And they assure me that that Microsoft has the best worldwide network, because they own the fiber that goes underneath the oceans, and it's always kept top shape. So, all right, we're going to stop voting now and move forward. Thank you for those of you who voted and participated. Okay, so now, Silva, it's up to you.
Yeah, thanks, John. So basically, as a refresher, so our assessor solution it's been really a result of working closely with the Redmond team and see what was the requirements and how they were willing to get the solution looking, and what result has to be delivered. So our UC assessor is 100% software-based. There is no network probe needed and no agent. So it's very easy, very lightweight to deploy and to run and operate. The idea is it's fully in line with the Microsoft way and the way that they want to assess the network performance of their potential customers, and being able to run those tests and benchmark those results with the SLAs provided by Microsoft on jitter, latency, and packet loss. So I'll show you that during the demonstration. For probably most of you, if you've been joining the demonstration done by Thomas Kenty last time, you probably saw a demonstration of our tool where it was testing against the Skype for Business online edge point. So we still can do it, but as I'm going to tell you, right now our tool can do a bit more than that. We've been saying that within the market, basically you got different type of use case and different type of customers. Some of them are going to use the internet link to connect back to the Microsoft edge point, and some of us are going to use the express route to connect to the associated edge points. So I'll show you in a minute how you can assess both scenarios and what are the results. But basically, yeah, the assessor got the ability to assess the connectivity from an office site. So it could be an headquarters, it could be where the Skype for Business is hosted, or it could be a branches up to the Skype for Business online edge point. If you're using an on-prem edge, I would say we have capabilities to do site-to-site through one of our assessor offering. So again, the idea of UC Assessor is to detect and test against Skype for Business Online edge points. We can do to help this market, especially to do some tests from multiple sites at homes. And the idea of our tool is to being able to generate traffic very easily and being able to generate a report highlighting very key elements such as latency, packet loss, and jitter to help you to identify where the issue is occurring and if you need to contact your service provider to upgrade your class of services within your link, or if you need to go and use express route. The idea of our tool is, as I was saying, very easy to use. So what we've been doing, we have a centralized management where you can manage all your sites and you can run all the tests from one single pane of glass. When you're using that single pane of glass, while you're doing your test, we collecting all the data, we are aggregating all the results, and we display that in a nice way for you to basically being able to assess the result. Do you want to add anything, John?
No, I think you captured it all, Salah. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so let's move to the second part. So here I'm going to concentrate on UC Assessor. And as John mentioned, so our first bundle is Essential. So basically, Essential is here to detect the nearer ingress server, which is the Microsoft Edge. Previously, the previous presentation was to assess where the closest ingress point from Microsoft point of view was. So again, as been saying, so here we can run two assessments. One will be through the express route, and basically the customer will have to use express route, and in that case, you will be able to pick up the location that you want to run the test against. And what it will do, it will just show the closest edge and all the assessment results in real time. For all the customers which are currently not using express routes and will be depending on an internet link, the test will be done against the Anycast IP. So for those of you who do not know what Anycast IP is, Anycast IP is just basically a public IP address which is basically a load balancer, and after behind calculation and an algorithm from Microsoft will figure out which one is the closest or the nearest Microsoft edge point. So those are the two tests that we can run against. The idea is when you run those two tests again, so we're assessing the result in real time, we're giving a score, and to tell you if the result is in line with Microsoft expectation or requirements. And if not, basically we can help you to identify the problem, where they're occurring, and show within the network diagram that you can see below where the issue sits. Our tool basically is here to help you to identify if the issue is sitting on your private network as a customer, or if it's more on the carrier side, so the public world, or if the issue is sitting on the Microsoft LAN network. So our tool is here to pinpoint the different hubs that the call is traversing and able to highlight where the latency is occurring to provide you with a full visibility of what is happening and where the issue sits.
Yeah, so I'd like to add in here just one comment. This is something that came up last week when we were at Ignite. is that Microsoft points out that if you were looking at the bottom slide, and you can't see it very well here, but when you see the live demo, you'll actually see, and those hop to hops, you'll actually see the latency that's associated with, as Sylvain pointed out, your internal network, the Microsoft network, or the public network. And if you have a public network that has bad latency, it gives you the opportunity to be able to call your provider and say specifically that you're getting bad service. If it's consistently bad, then you can explore other options. But it's interesting to be able to see specifically where the problems are occurring, and this screen will show you that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, John. And basically, it's a very simple way to visualize what's the call path, which shop are being part of that path, and where the issue is sitting, right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's move to the demo now. All right, so everybody can see my screen, okay? I guess.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so this is the UC assessor. This is the full-blown, essential, and advanced combined. So what I'm going to highlight here on the left side is our essential bundle. So within the essential bundle, you will get the UC assessment tray, and within that bundle, you will get access to the Skype for Business Online, and the results, and the managed location. How you deploy UC Assessor? Basically, it's based on our Prognosis product because we're leveraging the automation framework. It can be deployed on a physical or virtual machine. We just need to have some spec which are able to carry the load when we're simulating calls. So the way that you install it, you deploy Prognosis as you're familiar with, and after you deploy a UC Assessor patch on the server at the location where you deploy Prognosis. And here you can see below a few sites that we've been adding within the UC Assessor location. So as I was saying before, you have only one place to go to manage all your sites and all your call simulation, which is the management layer. So here, the idea from that management layer, you can click on Manage Location, and you can visualize all your location. If you need to add one more site within your location, you just add the name or the IP address of that location, and it's going to be added within that list. Obviously, when you go to different sites, you want to specify which test you want to run against that site, and if you want to test against any class, or if you want to test against express route. So the way to do it is you can select your site here, so let's say Sydney or Denver, and you can click on Configure here. So very easy again to define what kind of tests you want to run. If I click on Configure, and I have preloaded my slide because it's demo, you can see here the location name, which is Denver. You can see the type of clients, the location type, which is clients. And here you can see all the different tests that we're going to assess for that specific location. So in this case, the Denver connection back to the Skype for Business Online Edge is using Express Route. So here, I'm going to test against the location that I'm choosing, which in this case are Dallas, Chicago, and Las Vegas. Then I'm going to choose what kind of media I want to simulate. Do I want to simulate voice? Do I want to simulate video or app sharing? Because we all know that part of the Skype for Business collaboration, everybody is using voice, video, and apps. And we're seeing more and more customers using video and adding a lot of uptake or constraints on the bandwidth. So when I'm selecting video voice, you can here select the proper codec. So here we selected G722, but you can select a specific Skype for Business codec. Same apply for audio, video, and app sharing. And after, you can just pick number of calls that you're willing to simulate, and you just click on Enable. Easy. As simple as that when you want to run. Yeah.
I would like to point out one thing. The reason that codec is defaulted to 722.64K is that's the recommended test that Microsoft asks everyone to run, because if you can pass that, it's the most high demand codec of all of them out there. If you can pass that particular one, then all the other subsequent tests will automatically pass because they're less burdensome on the network. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, John. So when you define all those tests, and if you want to run them, you just click on Update, and the tool is going to automatically run those call simulation. And when that call simulation will be done, here you will be able to see the results, or what are the RTT, runtime trip, within that location and that specific edge server. When you run those tests and when you run all those simulations, you won't have a feel of what are the results. So you can click on the Skype for Business online display, and it's going to bring you to a very simple visualization layer when you can visualize all the different tests that you've been running. So here you can see that we have one site in New York is running a video simulation through Anycast. We have a London, Denver, and Sydney. So again, very easy to visualize and very easy to pinpoint if a link is degraded. So if you're looking at Sydney here, you can see that within the Sydney site, we are assessing the online age, which is in Melbourne and Sydney, and you can see that we have some degradation occurring between Sydney and the Melbourne age. The idea of the tool is you can highlight that segment and go into granular data. So you can see here we're simulating one voice call. These are the number of samples, and you can see that at this stage there is no DSCP from the client via this wire network. Interestingly here, we can specify if it's a wired or wireless network to provide you with more insight too. We're providing key metrics such as latency, round trip, jitter, loss, 1 second, 10 seconds, out of order, and we provide different visibility. The 19% still, or the 5-minute trend. So again, providing you with a lot of data to be able to take the right decision and see if the test has been passed or not. What I want to point out to you is we've been adding an integrity value. Obviously, when you're simulating calls from your physical or virtual machine, it's putting some load on your process and services, which might impact the result of those tests. So we've been adding a concept of integrity, which is showing if the tests are valid or not. So when you click on this one, let's say on the Denver to Chicago, you're going to go into a much deeper view where you can see all the different network hubs, part of that call path between the Denver and the Chicago online edge point. The very interesting thing here that I really want to point out is very simply you can identify all the different hubs, and the network path show each segment. They show the private, they show the public, and they show the Microsoft network. So here you can see here it's the global value, global latency, and here you can see we've been segmented by which devices are part of the IL network and which devices are within the Microsoft network. And between every hubs, we're able to provide you with latency data, as I'm showing up here. Yeah.
Now, so far, just one thing I want to point out. If those of you are watching this online and the screen's not large enough, there's a way to maximize the screen so you can see it better. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a button that will allow you to make your screen maximize size. So just if you're having difficulty seeing this particular screen, just go ahead and maximize it out.
Thanks, John. So obviously the idea is you're simulating the call, but you want to see the result, and you want to see what's the trend of that result. So you can click on the link, and it can provide you a more granular view of what are the values around latency, burst, the loss, and the jitter. So we can provide you with a yearly view, daily view, or weekly view to provide you with enough insight to make the right decision in do you need to basically upgrade your link, or do you need to go to express routes, or do you need maybe to use your system differently. And the idea is we're using SVG, so you can zoom in to get more granular view, especially when you have burst, and you need to be really aware of what's happening. Lastly, and probably that's one of the best display. Here you can see all the tests and all the results that we've been running. So here you can see all the assessment results from the site to the Edge Online, to the online Edge, and you can see which type of media we've been using and if the target, which is a requirement for Microsoft, have been achieved or not. And here you can see a bit more value around like what's the round trip, packet loss, burst loss, and jitter, and out of order. The great thing is you can see the duration of each of those tests. And one of the interesting thing here, and you can use and download this report into an Excel format and apply filters to really play with the value and being able to provide the right advice and being able to take the right decision. Do you want to add anything, John, here?
Yes, thank you, Saval. One of the things I like to do with this view is I do export it to Excel, and then you can use a pivot table, and you can set up a pivot table that say, just show me the value, just show me the servers that have failed the test. So you can have a pass, fail, yes, no. You can also make a column that says from, and you can have your from servers and then to for the edge servers, and you can see specifically which ones are causing you the most issues. You can have an average of all of the metrics that you're reviewing. So you can have an average MOS score, an average latency, an average jitter, packet loss, all that, all in one report. And I tried it today. I timed myself. It took me about 5 minutes to pull that all together. And once you pull it together, all you have to do is continually run the report, put it into the raw data portion of your pivot table, and then refresh, and you have an updated report. So it's a really powerful tool for IT professionals to be able to show specifically where the problems in the network are occurring. And that's exactly what Microsoft wants to see. This report is in the Azure format that Microsoft requires. Thank you, Sylvain.
Thanks, John. Okay, so now we're going to move to the advanced. So let me just go forward. So basically the advanced is based on the essential. And what do we do here? Basically there is two main features that we're adding. One is instead of performing the test from site to a Skype for Business online Edge, we can perform tests from site to site, or let's say from the headquarters to a branches, and so on. By doing that, basically, we can do tests between 2 to 3 sites at the same time, and basically between assessor to assessor. The other one is when we got that beautiful view highlighting all the different network hubs, it could be interesting, especially if you manage that network segment as you're the customer, to get a more insightful view of your network components on the switching or on the router level. So the idea with Advanced, you will have the capability to drill down to a deeper look and being able to see exactly what's happening at an interface level, being able to visualize which network components are impacting your successful delivery of a Skype for Business system. So I'm just going to go to demo mode. So just stay with me. All right, so I'm starting again from here. That's the UC Assessor, and if you want to upgrade to Advanced, so it will be exactly the same principle as Essential. The base is Prognosis, you deploy the patch, and to go into Advanced, you need to do an upgrade process, which is very quick. Basically, the Advanced process is you just copy-paste a license key that we're providing to you, you're adding a code, and you just say process, and it's going to upgrade automatically your UC Assessor from Essential to Advanced. From this part on, basically you will see the site-to-site categories showing up, the call simulator, and all these new layouts around network, which is going to be able to provide you with health report, highlighting the issues, where bandwidth constraints are happening, some indication on your WAN utilization, the routers, the phone, and help you to do some path tracing between IPs. So again here, exactly same concept, same interface, nothing changed apart some add-on on it. And if you want to simulate calls, it will be exactly the same principle. You go into your site, you configure, you define which traffic you want to simulate, and you update. When you get that, you got exactly the same view as this one. And if you want to really have a side-to-side view, you can click, sorry, let me show that, on the specific assessment that you've been running to see what are the impacts on the network between your different sites and different locations that you've been assessing. So here you can see that we've been running a test between Sydney, London, and Denver to test the global scale of our network between all different locations. And you can see here that the values are not good, right? So again, color-coded, very easy to analyze, and very easy again to just highlight to see what went wrong. So here you can see again all the data latency, again no DSCP, so we're providing you with all the related information. What I want to point to you here, it's here we've been able to identify which is the longest network hub to, which is creating that problem, and what's the value. So here when I'm highlighting the Sydney to London to Sydney link, I can see that the network hubs which are having the most problem is Sydney, and you can see that the latency being occurred is around 70.7 milliseconds. So again, that's giving you an indication of really where the issue is occurring, and giving you, as John was referring, enough data to either contact your service provider, your telco, or your system integrators. Okay, so if I'm clicking on Cine again, it's going to point me to a deeper view, and again to be able to show you that private, public, and Microsoft, or your private network, and being able to drill down into a specific interface. Do you want to add anything, John, while it's downloading?
No, this is the upgrade, obviously, from the Essentials. So in addition to being able to see your edge-to-edge internally, then you can also do some advanced diagnostics, and it'll give you some very English-like descriptions of what's happening within your network. So here's the results.
Yeah, so this is the result, and you can see again, so we can identify very easily which devices is part of the private network, which is here IR, and which network hubs are part of the public network. So here you can see, you can highlight those different network devices, and at some stage you can get more data. So if I'm highlighting the devices owned by IR, I can see the latency, and basically if I click on it, I can get additional information on the interface. If I'm looking at a public hubs, obviously I won't be able to access it, and I will get data as latency and what's the cost. So just to give you an example, if I'm clicking, let's say there is latency occurring between the London site and the Sydney site, and I can see that the latency is occurring within one devices which is part of that private home network LAN. So if I click on it, I can go to a deeper view, just looking at the interface, looking at the utilization, looking at the packet loss, the number of errors. So we get all those data using the MIPS, which are part of every network devices. And the idea here is part of the advance is to provide you more insight into the network, and being able to really assess where the issue is on the network is, it's due to a old equipment being used, or is because the interface is configured on half duplex instead of full duplex. So we're providing you with all those data. Again, we've been through this display, the previous display, to this one just by one click. So again, it's just to show you how simple our tool is to be used. One other thing that we have part of our tool, when that Path Insight is monitoring your internal devices through a subnet discovery, auto discovery, you can generate a report, an F report of your system. So to be able to generate this one, you can just click on F report, and by one click, is going to bring you to a report here. That report is created automatically, and it just includes a lot of very valuable information. Firstly, starting by giving you an inventory asset of all the network device that you're currently monitoring. It's providing you the manufacturing date, number of interface, location, contact, iOS version, and manufacturing date, which, as a partner or as a customer, that can give you some idea of, do you need to refresh your network in order to get, let's say, quality of servicing setup available. So here the manufacturing date, looking at the one interface, looking at all the PoE capabilities to help you to basically size correctly your PoE per range in order to provision enough capability to power your phone. But also, that report provides a graphical representation of CPU utilization, RAM utilization, and most core utilization or results, I would say. Obviously, you can see the minimum, average, and max. So that gives you a very easy way to define where the issue is occurring and which devices you need to focus your effort. As been showing previously, so our tool is able to identify or basically monitor all the network devices that you've gone within your internal network. And part of that, we're able to highlight the issue. But as a smart way or smart approach, we can provide you with some recommendation and go a step further in recommending you some remediation to do. So here you can see that we're seeing some collision exiting on that interface, and we're saying why, and basically here we can provide some remediation advice. Same for every other interface. We're highlighting where the problem sits, what's the error rate, what's the utilization rate, and we provide some remediation. So again, a very good tool which allows you to go and provide the right advice to your customer or your internal IT team to be able to take the right decision and basically make your Skype for Business deployment a successful deployment. Do you want to add anything, John?
Yeah, having this level of detail is a great document for IT professionals when they're dealing, maybe in some cases, with some legacy systems where they may have had Cisco or Avaya in the past, and now they're bringing this all through the IT department. The IT person then now has all this data that they can say, look, here's the problem that we're facing, and we need to fix it. Rather than spending a lot of time finger-pointing who's responsible, now they'll have a document that everybody can circle around and work together to resolve issues. That's all I have to say about that. You're welcome.
No, but I mean that's good because as an example, so I've been deploying this tool to one of our customers, and we've been launching that F report, and we've been seeing that a lot of packets or a lot of issues were occurring from printers, which were broadcasting within the voice VLAN. So it was very easy for us to see that. So yeah, that's kind of insight that you can get from our tool. All right.
Yeah.
So let's move, John.
Yep.
Yes, we did that.
Yep. Now we're getting into the full-blown prognosis product.
Yes, correct. Okay, so we have like 15 minutes left. Do you want to go straight to the demo, or we go through the slide?
Yeah, so. What we're going to do here is we're going to talk a little bit about how we can use the full product of prognosis. So what you've seen so far is our Essentials tool, which is the basic. Then the Assessor Advanced, which gives you additional features, as Sylvain pointed out, that talk about edge-to-edge internally and also provide you with some remediation tools. This product, this prognosis full-blown product, the full suite, will show you complete edge-to-edge coverage and all that. So rather than spending a lot of time on the slides, I think it might make sense to just go right into the demo.
All right. Okay. So let's jump on the demo.
Yeah.
All right. So here you can see our prognosis full-blown product. So as you can see here on the left side, so obviously we're a multi-vendor monitoring tool. So we can monitor more than just Skype for Business, Avaya, Cisco, and so on. And also we can monitor all the SBC ecosystem, so AudioCode, Acme, PACNET, Sonus. And that's very valuable when you have a Skype for Business deployment, which is including a CCE where you need to do a hybrid cloud. So we get visibility of that. And also we're able to, the extended solution, provide some visibility in the Polycom video endpoint. So it could be group series and so on. So our product within one single pane of glass is giving you the ability to access to a multiple type of system. So here, you can see all the site, and I'm going just to focus basically on the Skype for Business here. So part of the latest release, P11, we've been introducing a new display, conversation displays. I'm just going to click here. It's going to bring you to that display here. So what we've been doing now, it's very easy to visualize and search and locate all interaction or all activities which have been happening within your Skype for Business system. Here you can see all conversation, including all modalities, so audio, IM, app sharing, conferencing, and so on. The idea here, again, is to provide a very easy way to navigate within the tool and understand where the issue is occurring. We provide information, valuable information, jitter, latency, MOS, with, again, color-coded. If it's red, that means the value is going above the threshold, and this is mean that there is a voice degradation occurring here. Obviously, we can specify user and time period, so this is very useful for any support engineers which receive a case opened by a customer and need to pinpoint exactly when the call happens, so they can divide the time period. But we also have more features which help you to access to the information very quickly. Status, failure success, what's the media quality, what's the session type, if it's a call or a conference session, what's the call type, inbound, outbound, in transit, and what kind of user do you have? Is the user is enterprise, if the user is an external user considered as federated user, or others. And connection type, VPN, wireless, wired. This is starting to be very important, where we're seeing more and more end users using the wireless instead of being on wired. And here we can basically help you to highlight what's the impact of leveraging a wireless network instead of a wired. So for this use case here, which is again around conference, I'm going to do a search on one end user, Oliver W, which did a conference. And when I apply that user and I say search, it's bringing me to all the conferencing that Oliver had within that time slot. So here you can see all different calls or tentative that Oliver did in joining that conference. You can see that there's a conference between Rob and Oliver, and you can see that Oliver as being on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off all the time here. You can see that Rob has been joining the conference, but he's still in. He's not being kicked out. So which means just by looking at this display, we can just basically pinpoint the issue on Oliver and put on the side the Rob T end users. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to click on one of the interaction or one of the call leg from Oliver. So if I'm clicking on this one with failure here, and again I show you a specific display, it's going to open me a more detailed page where I can see additional data, which version of client Oliver is using, which front-end pool is connected, is this going through an edge or not. But most importantly, and to help support team to make their job easier, we have moved the Skype diagnostic to the top. And basically that Skype diagnostic is highlighting the reason of the failure. And in that case, we can see that the reason of Oliver being dropping off of the conference is because he got a loss of network. So by just getting this data, you can after do more inquiry on what kind of network connection Oliver is on. Is he using a wired or wireless? And by going into a more troubleshooting process, you can see basically if it's within the company or outside, if it's using the edge. And most of the time, as I'm doing, we're using our home internet access, and sometimes the issue is from there. So our tool is here to help you to pinpoint those issues and demarcate if the issue is on your side as a customer or on the public one, the carrier, or as nowadays on the end user side, which could be home or the road. Yeah. All right. So that was the use case around the conference. The second use case that I want to bring to your attention is more around what we called voice quality 360. So that could be a good use, especially if you're migrating an existing customer through an old legacy platform such as Avaya, Cisco, and you're migrating them to Skype for Business. You want to still keep visibility of those two systems, being able to monitor those two systems, obviously being able to monitor their use, their availability, CPU, disk, and so on. But also you want to be able to see if a user is calling, if a user from Skype for Business is calling somebody to a Cisco platform, you want to see what is that call path, and you want to see where degradation is occurring. So in that use case, I'm going to do a search on Theory. So if I click on search, again, it's going to bring me all interaction focused on Theory. And here I can see all interaction. Some of them seems to be good. Some of them have been terminated. Some of them have some issues. But if I'm focusing just on the first one, I'm clicking on this one and I get more information on that specific interaction or call. I can see who was involved. I can see which subnet they were, if they were using wired or wireless. But most importantly, I can bring you to what we call voice quality. If I click on voice quality on detail, it's going to bring me a very simple way to visualize data where you have an end user, Terry, which is doing a call from his Skype for Business cell phone to a Cisco end users. And you can see part of that call path is going off from the cell phone to a Sonos SBC, then to an audio card SBC, and then is hitting the Cisco devices. You can see here again, we're providing valuable data. What's the most core? And when you highlight it, you can see all the source, destination IP, and you can see where jitter, latency, what's their value, and packet loss, so on. So again, simple way to visualize where the issue is occurring to help your team to pinpoint the issue and resolve it quickly. Right. Probably last use case, and it's one of the one that we're seeing a lot of interest nowadays. it's around the cell phone metrics. So we're seeing more and more end users using Skype for Business via cell phone on their laptop. And as an end user, I'm using my laptop to do multiple things, right? I'm using it to stream video. I'm using it to listen music. Sometimes you have virus scan running on your laptop. Sometimes, as I'm doing, you have a lot of virtual machine running, and all that process use can be a factor in the bad voice quality which is going out of that cell phone client. So the idea of that cell phone metrics is to provide you with enough data to being able to see which process are running on that end user devices. Those processes are impacting my Skype for Business voice quality. And basically, to be able to provide that, we need to have a clear path access to the device where the cell phone is running, and we need to have WMI and the network access ready. Do you want to add anything, John, here?
No, I think you covered it pretty well there, and I'm just checking the time here. We have about 4 minutes left, so I think
correct.
What we should do is move kind of quickly through the last few slides. So we've already seen the demo of Prognosis. You've done a great job of that, Sylvain. Thank you for that. And we have a slide here that talks about the 3 different versions of the tool that you saw this evening or this morning. Essentials, Advanced, and Prognosis UC. So rather than going through this, if you download the attachment, you'll have this slide with you, and you can take a look at it at your leisure. I haven't seen any questions come in so far, so if you have any questions that you would like to ask, now would be a great time to just put them in the questions window. And now we're up to our last poll from the audience. So now that you've had a chance to see the Skype operations framework and the assessment options, which might you consider to help deliver your deployment? So the questions are, all we need is Essentials for now. The second one is, we'll likely start with Essentials and see if we have an issue and move to Advanced. And we'll likely start with Advanced because we want to know how to fix issues if we have them. And then Prognosis UC looks like it would be a better fit for our environment. And the last option is, we're looking for a service provider to monitor our UC environment for us. So please go ahead and take a few moments to vote. We're going to leave it open for 1.5 minutes. And then while we're doing that, I'd like to put in a plug for, please take a moment to rate and review our webinar at the end of this. This is how we make our webinars better. It also helps us assess if we're going to do them in different parts of the world. So if you like having these webinars live that you can answer them in real time, then please take a moment to provide that feedback and answer the questions or answer any questions that we can have for you.
John, we have a question right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, can you reboot or reset any related device by using this tool? And the answer is no. It's not meant to be a remote reset system. It's meant to be able to monitor remote systems, but you can't reset them from this tool. So, did I get that right, Sylvain?
You're right. But part of the Prognosis full-blown. So as we have an automation framework, at some stage, based on threshold reach, we can, if you want, reset or reboot a specific server. So that's achievable using our Prognosis full-blown solution.
Oh, you can with the full-blown solution. That's right. Okay. Thank you for that. All right. Next slide. We have about 2 minutes left. I'm going to leave the voting open just for a little bit longer. This is a Q&A and additional resources slide. Again, if you download the attachment, you'll have all these links. They're all live links. One of the things that Microsoft wants us to ask you is to get your feedback on the Skype operations framework. So there's a link there for you to provide that. But there's a bunch of other tools here that are very helpful. They're all made by Microsoft, and they're a very useful set of tools specifically for monitoring or deploying Skype for Business. So take a look at that. Lastly, with that, again, just please take a moment to rate and review. And if you have any questions and we didn't answer them here, you can reach me at john.hand@ir.com. Or Sylvain, I don't think your email made it to this slide, so if you can provide that, that would be great. And
yeah,
then,
so it's sylvain.4@ir.com, but yeah, I can.
Yeah, so there's a spelling. It's sylvain.4@ir.com, and then you can ask questions offline. And with that, we just want to say thank you for taking your time today. We know that time is one of the most valuable commodities that people have, and spending an hour with us to kind of understand our tool set and understand a little bit about our company, we really do appreciate it. And again, please take a moment to review the webinar. And I'm going to stop the voting now. And with that, we'll say enjoy the rest of your day. Sylvain, you get the last word.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for attending, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye now.